Live on The View from a Pew, Dick and Betty Odgaard, the owners of the Gertz House, who was told by the government, allow gay weddings or close. That's today, live here on The View from a Pew on The Truth, 99.3, powered by Webcast One Live.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 244-0077. That's 244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
Okay, good afternoon. We will date this show as this is a momentous day in the history of this country. It is June 26th in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and this is The View from a Pew on the Truth Network, 99.3. Why is this a day that will go down in infamy? Well, I hope it does. Now, I'm not sure what your asterisk says if you were to write it. It's a glorious day. It's a wonderful day. Praise God. Or as other people might say, it's one of the worst days in history. God is being removed from our society, and we are heading to something much worse than any ISIS or any terrorists or any politician could ever hand us. And if you look through the world through a biblical worldview, you would recall Sodom and Gomorrah. Today is the day that the United States Supreme Court, or the Supreme Court of the United States as it is known, ruled 5-4 that gay marriage is legal across the country. We are now a country, not a few states. We are now a country that says your religious freedoms come second to our desire to do anything we want, wherever we want, with anybody we want to do it with. I don't know where you stand on this. We're not going to talk much politics today. We're going to talk to two people, a wonderful couple, who lost their livelihood, who lost their business, who lost their church, who lost support from their community, because they did what they were raised to do and made the Bible the last word. Dick and Betty Odgaard, who owned the Gertz House in Grimes for 13 years, will close at the end of next month because the government says you have to allow gay weddings in your marriage business, in the place that you rent for marriages. And they're saying, I'm not going to do that. So, Dick and Betty, nice to have you here. You've been here many times before, but we didn't plan. We planned this visit not to coincide with the Supreme Court's decision. We were just going to come and talk about you guys closing your business, and the good Lord granted this to be a day when many people are feeling the bump of a evil society beginning to not just sit in the darkness, but being exposed to the daylight and ignoring the light of the Father. Welcome. Glad to have you here.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Matt.
Move that over a little bit for you.
Thank you very much.
So we've got some emails we want to share that they've received. We want to share some. We're not going to share the audio, but we're going to share some phone calls they've received since you made the announcement, a week ago? That you were going
this Monday.
Yeah.
Last Monday.
This week.
That you were going to close. And you've heard from people all over the world.
We have.
Not just local. And I want to talk about the good and the bad. But I want to ask a real tough question right off the bat. If you had not had the lawsuit and the Supreme Court ruling came down today that it was legal in all states, would you have done anything differently? If you got home from work today and there was a message on an answering machine from two young men who was the situation you had a few years ago, that they wanted to lease your facility to have a wedding, would you do anything differently?
We couldn't have.
Absolutely not.
No.
Would you have got if it was 14 years ago? So Betty, you were about 18 and you were about 19. And you were thinking about buying this old Lutheran church in Grimes, Iowa, to turn it into something that people could have weddings at, knowing that you would have to accept same-sex couples. Would you buy the Gertz house?
No.
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 Frank is here. I tried to keep him away. I begged. I asked. I almost paid him. Kind of like a reverse mortgage. Can I just pay you not to be here?
That's
And Frank will take probably a harder line on this than I will, or Betty or Dick. So please remember that we all have our own opinions here today, and my opinions are not those of Dick and Betty's, and Frank's opinions are not necessarily of me. This is a time where we are unified in Christ, but we see what the government is doing maybe somewhat differently. But where are you at today?
Well, I'm right here that the Supreme Court has now told me that God's law is not the highest law in the land. Desire is the highest law. Liberty is the highest law. And inevitably, liberty is going to land you in bondage. So whether these homosexuals that may be celebrating know it or not, they're in bondage. And Christ came to set them free, and they're not going to know the pardon that they were given, that they're going to be allowed to have, because they're not going to know they're in sin. And they're going to make it illegal for ministers, missionary workers, call porters, evangelists to get up,
radio
hosts to say that what they're doing is wrong.
I've always enjoyed his position because, well, continue then. Continue. Therefore, if it's illegal to hear it.
Well, then it's going to be hate crime and punishable by hate legislation that will put you in jail. Now, I don't know if they'll put bamboo shoots under your fingernails or what they'll do extra to you, but they're a protected class. So if you say anything anti their protected class and call them out on the carpet that they're in sin, or you're trying to run a business like you guys have tried to do, and you want to shut them out of your establishment. Now, you can keep Max run restaurants all his life, at different periods of his life, I should say. He can keep people out for no shoes, no service.
I can keep anybody out except for the color of their skin.
Basically for any reason.
Yeah.
And you don't necessarily have to state a reason.
No.
But now we're told that you have to serve these homosexual community, no matter your religious faith, your religious belief.
And we would serve them in every way, except for the holy vows of marriage.
Exactly. But apparently the holy vows of marriage are now going to extend to. But now pastors, the next step would be forcing pastors who don't want to marry a gay couple to marry a gay couple. Then the next step would be marriage counseling, if they're seeking counseling for their potentially destructive marriage. And pastors are going to be forced to do this, apparently, if the progressive steps keep moving.
Well, today we took a huge blow for religious liberty. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm 56 years old, and I'm so glad I'm not 26.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I'd do. I grew up in a country that even if I had the right to say the wrong thing, I could say it. Even though it was the wrong thing to say, I could still say it. I can't imagine what it's going to be like in, I don't know, 2050, 2060, when our generation is past, and there will no longer be a generation there who was just raised a certain way.
Yes.
The new generation is being raised on latchkey kids and video games and the internet and social media, and I think we've lost right from wrong. I'm not sure I'm not sure without the Bible how anybody determines
And
what's.
they're given a watered-down version of the Bible.
Yeah, a watered-down gospel.
Yes.
And nobody sitting in this room is quote unquote anti-homosexual.
Absolutely
It's
not.
merely we're anti-gay marriage. Because marriage is an institution that came straight out of the Garden of Eden. It was instituted by God. And what God has said is what God has put together, let no man put asunder. That means an individual marriage, plus that also means an institution. Don't add to or take away from my institution. Don't define it as something I didn't mean it to be defined as.
That's right.
Well, and the writings of one of the justices, and I don't know if it was Scalia. No, it wouldn't have been Scalia. It would be somebody who, in one of the five, the wording was even kind of opening the door to polygamy. What's it called when it's multiple women?
Polygamy.
No, well, marry something or.
Oh, marry an inanimate object?
No, that's not it. I'm not thinking of it right now. But what's
Whatever goes.
yeah? What's about? Can I marry my dog?
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, can I marry my? Can I? If my wife says okay, why can't I have a second wife? No, but I'm serious. What in the law
Yep.
says that I can't do that now? Is there? Do we have polygamy laws in this country?
I'm not a scholar.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think there's been a multiple marriage ordained in Thailand, but I've mentioned this name on the show a couple of times, and I would challenge anybody to Google her. Her name is Masha Geeson, Masha, no R. She's a Russian-born gay activist, and she basically has been so emboldened that they've come out and they've told their agenda, and she said, I paraphrase here, that it is a lie to ourselves and others to say that we're out to do anything other than destroy traditional marriage and replace it with marriages of any number of people, multiple people, including family members,
Yep.
to enter into and exit out of at will. Now, we tried this once during the French Reformation and Revolution, the civil unions, and it was a total debacle. Now, we're going to go revisit some vomit of the past, put a nice, new, pretty, shiny bow on it, and say, try this again.
Yeah.
I'm J. Michael McCoy. This is A View from a Pew. You were listening to Frank Thomas. He's my co-host. Maddie is producing today. My special guests are Dick and Betty Odgaard, who for 13 years, at the passion of their hearts, restored an old Lutheran church which had been abandoned by the congregation. Well, maybe not abandoned is the right word, but the congregation moved on and built a new building. They didn't
That's
close.
right.
All right. And you bought a classic building.
Beautiful stone.
Yeah. And turned it into a place where people could get married. They could celebrate birthdays. You also are open for lunch. You have art. You have framing. You have flowers. All of this is now just going to shut down and go away because the government says you have to go against what you believe. Now, I heard something interesting today on the radio that somebody said, you can believe whatever you want. We're not taking your away your right to believe it. We are taking away your right to put that on anybody else. Well, they obviously don't understand what belief is then, do they?
Right.
You know, that's like saying, we're going to let you have this automobile, but there's no steering wheel and no gas tank. You can't do with it what you need. We're coming up on our first break. Jill King said, but did God call them to this wedding ministry? Was it his will that they had that business? Because he knew all along that this was coming. Surely he used them to bless many, many people while they were open. So Jill's just basically saying, look at all the people you blessed. Look at all the people. How many weddings did you hold there?
Oh,
I mean,
a lot.
250?
Not that many.
No?
We weren't in that business long enough to have that many, but probably in the neighborhood of 60, in a few short years.
All right, we're coming up on our first break. We would love to hear your voice on this, 244-0077. United States Supreme Court says gay marriage legal across the country, and I've got a couple with me today that have paid the price. We'll talk.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I've purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome back. 21 minutes after the hour on this, the 26th day of June in the Lord's year of 2015. It was less than 24 hours ago that the Supreme Court of the United States of America decided that it was unconstitutional to have someone of faith deny a same-sex couple to get married or have service because of their
Desire.
their desire, their choice to be gay. I don't know. I don't want to start any fights today. I'm not interested in any fights. I think this whole thing is absurd from the beginning. It absolutely plays against everything that this country's been for 240 years.
But look at what's happened this week. We've had the removal of the Confederate flag. The Supreme Court, SCOTUS, has made a decision on Obamacare, and basically, for all intents and purposes, said, well, the Democrats wrote a lousy law, so John Roberts said, well, I'll fix that for you. They're literally legislating from the bench our laws. Congress is supposed to make the laws. The Supreme Court is merely supposed to interpret if those laws are constitutional. But we now have the judicial branch making law from whole cloth from the bench. Where is the right for a man and woman to get married?
Shane Vanderhart, who does a program every Saturday morning here called Caffeinated Thoughts, posted this blog, or posted this statement. To consider the judges as the ultimate arbitrators of our constitutional questions, a very dangerous doctrine indeed, and one which would place us under the deposition of Frank, help me with this. My glasses aren't working very well. Oligarchy. Oligarchy. Well, not only can I not say it, I don't know what it means. What's oligarchy?
I think it has something to do with the religious power.
Okay. Well, that really seems appropriate that he would say that today, don't you think?
Yep.
Yeah. Except it was written by Thomas Jefferson in the 1780s. They worried about this 240 years ago, that this would happen. And they thought they had written a paper that the First Amendment would stand and that our right to have our religious beliefs would not be trounced upon. Well, what they're saying now is that you can still believe whatever you believe, but you don't have that right to push the beliefs on anybody else, including through your own business that you own.
Well, liberals will make this analogy that I have a right to swing my fist in the air, but my right stops where somebody else's nose starts. So there has to be some fine line here between the rights of you and the rights of me. If I want to get a guy and go in and get married in your place, I've got a right to do something, but at some point I'm stomping on your rights as an individual Christian. So where's this balance between the rights of the homosexual and the rights of the people who don't want to engage in their behavior? There has to be some right, but the Supreme Court has now wiped away your rights.
Right. In Iowa, the plane where your nose is well, they're going to hit more than your nose, because you are discriminating if you turn down the gay couple, and that's because of discrimination laws.
But it doesn't have anything to do with discrimination. It has to do with our own hearts.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
And morals and integrity.
And biblical teachings. I guess in thinking about it, I'm actually might be in the market for an event planner. And here's why. It may be wrong, but it's legal now to celebrate sin. And I have a lot of celebrating to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got a place you can do that at. Let's talk about a minute. Probably the saddest side of this and that's how you've been treated in the last week. I mean, forget about the last 3 years. I mean, I've heard, we know each other. I've heard the stories, but the last week, it really got ratcheted up, didn't it?
It did. You know, they wanted to shut us down. They did shut us down. And now they're complaining because we're in the news again because they shut us down. So now we're getting the ugly calls again. You know, it serves you right. You reap what you sow. This is exactly what you should expect. So quit making victims out of yourselves.
Really?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Do you have a sense if these calls are coming from non-believers or from Christians?
You know, that's interesting because some of them are coming from people of faith, at least what they claim to be is their faith. But I question how they justify that with Scripture. Somehow they do.
Oh, they're lukewarm.
Yeah, I took a call.
The Bible.
I took a call Wednesday evening from New York State. Not sure what city it was, but this thing has gone national. It's gone international, actually. And this gentleman started a monologue on me over the phone, and I was able to engage him in a conversation. And the conversation ended when I told him I was going to pray for him. I asked him what divine power he answered to. He absolutely could not answer that question, and And then when I mentioned that I'd pray for him, he really clammed up. So, you know, Satan is alive and well out here. Things are going his way right now.
Oh, big time.
But I tell you what, Mac, the gloves are coming off on the religious and the faithful.
Yeah.
They have absolutely got to come off.
Yeah.
We've been pussyfooting around with these people way too long. I'm mad at myself for not taking my gloves off long before this incident happened to us.
Well,
But who are the gloves aimed at? The gloves are the gloves can't be aimed at the LGBT ? Community.
No,
It's got to be aimed at the accuser.
absolutely.
Because what they're trying to do is take God completely out of society.
Right.
That's right.
With the help of the government.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this thing from 5,000 feet, up rather than 1 foot up, this is happening throughout American society, and it's really simple. We're just telling God He's not welcome anymore.
Oh, boy.
And look what's happened. Look what happens when we tell God He's not wanted anymore. You know what He says? I think He says, okay, I gave you free will. I love you no matter what. If you don't want me at the party, I won't go to the party. But understand that when I remove my umbrella and I walk away, you're going to get rained on.
That's why the Christian community has got to fall on their knees and beg God's forgiveness and pray for the religious liberty of our country.
I have a question for Dick. When your initial visit that I was over at the other studio downtown, I kind of asked you, I think, something similar to this same question, but at the time, you didn't feel that you were targeted. Have you since changed your mind that you feel like you've been targeted?
We kind of have.
Yeah, we have. And matter of fact, our attorneys have come to that conclusion as well. We found out, Frank, that well into the case that this couple had already been married.
Whoa. What?
Do I have to? Are you hard of hearing now, Mac?
I have not heard this. These two men were already married?
Yes, they were.
They were. But because they had...
That's
booked-
evil.
That is. It is. But because they had backup, though, because they booked the Hotel Patty, and
So we
it
think.
closed.
You know,
yes,
we
this
haven't
is the
confirmed.
story that we were told by them, and that hotel did indeed shut down for the period of time that they had their wedding booked, and so that's why we did not think in any way that it was a setup. But even it doesn't matter with if on that day it was a setup or not. They took action the very following day and made this into an issue. So, they set it up the next day.
No, it was set up. Read me the email that you got from your Christian brother. Not the one in the UK, the other one. Or is that a female?
That's that one.
Just a reminder that there are many of us who know and love the Lord, who attend and lead Bible studies weekly, who have helped many come to know Jesus as their Savior. Many of us who are so happy that our gay Christian brothers and sisters are now able to confirm and celebrate their union in marriage. I would encourage you to pray to God and to read His Word with your heart open to His leading rather than putting words in His mouth. You clearly are zealous. I suspect the Spirit could work with you in mighty ways.
I wonder what that person would say, what Matthew had to say when it says, and as in the days of Noah, they ate, drank, married, and gave in marriage until destruction come upon them, and so shall it be at Christ's second coming. In other words, there's nothing wrong with eating. There's nothing wrong with drinking, being married, or giving in marriage. So there must have been some excess or perversion of the establishment of marriage, the institution. What was going on? And Christ says the same state of affairs will happen at His second coming. And we're seeing it. We're alive in 2015 to see the fruition of what Matthew talked about centuries ago.
Yeah.
Are you saying, Frank, that history repeats itself?
Yes. And those who don't learn from history are doomed to make its mistakes, repeat its mistakes.
Dick and Betty Odgaard are our guests. They are the current owners of the Gertz House, which is going to close in about a month because the government is now requiring them to offer their space for same-sex marriages And that's not what they built it for. It's not what they planned for it. They felt that would violate their very personal relationship with Jesus, and therefore gave up their business because of that. And now, yesterday, we have the Supreme Court of the United States selling that the headline across the USA today was that gay marriage legal across the land. And it's the outpouring that have come towards you guys that makes me so scared. Even your own community, just kind of silence. You know, they don't come around, they don't call, your own church, didn't support you. Now, we will tell you that God has incredible plans for that building. And that building is not going to sit empty. And it is not going to be a place where the accuser can continue to visit and live. Your hopes are that a church will go in there.
Absolutely.
And then you'll be able to sit in there on a Sunday morning and worship God in the building where God was told he wasn't allowed because of a same-sex marriage.
Right.
Yeah. And if you're just tuning in, this is not about gay marriage. That is the shiny stick on the. That is the shiny thing on the stick. For those of you that love the movie, squirrel. That's what they want us to look at. What's going on here is this is just the next step in God being removed from our society, and going against exactly what this country was founded on 240 years ago. Exactly.
But, Mac, that's why they call it progressive.
Right.
Because they're willing to take it a step at a time.
All right, we're going to take our next break, and when we come back, more of the phone calls and emails that Dick and Betty got and what you can do for them. It's simple. It's really just a 4-letter word, and you hopefully already know how to do that. We'll talk about it next, live on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing. We have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then the Steve Deace. And I got to tell you, this would be one day I think I'd glue my ear to the radio. Because here in this studio right now, I think we're all sad. I don't think we're... I'm not really sad for you guys, but I guess I know what the next thing is, which we'll share here in a couple minutes. So I'm so grateful of where God's brought you. But Steve's going to come unglued.
Do you think the word sodomy marriage will get mentioned a couple times in his 3-hour broadcast?
He's going to come unglued.
Yeah.
And that's not some cheap promo, guys. I've known Steve Deace for 20 years, and he's going to come unglued. And rightfully so.
Yeah, he better take a pill for his own health.
I don't think he'll be taking any pills. All right. By the way, your comments are welcome at 244-0077. My guests are Dick and Betty Odgaard, who are the owners of the Gertz House. There is good things around the corner, though, because a lot of wonderful people came and surrounded you guys, from legal to friends to faith, through this whole thing. And you have been able to start a ministry, right? Is that the right? And
Correct.
Tell me about that ministry. What's it called?
The name of that ministry is God's Original Design Ministry. We do have a 501c3. We'll find out later if that's a blessing or a curse, but we do have a 501c3.
Is it .org?
It's .org, yes.
Do you have a website?
I'm sorry, the website is godsdesign.org with a hyphen. Godsdesign.org with a hyphen.
So you're a conservative and you're filing for a 501c3 or 4?
We got it. We already have it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
expect to get
God
visited.
is blessing this ministry already because we got it 2 months before the date
Expect
that
to
we
get
were
a visit from the IRS?
Possibly.
And tell me what this ministry is going to do. What does it look like, boots on the ground?
Boots on the ground, our pulpit is going to be primarily billboards. We need to what we want to do is create drive time epiphanies. Okay? And we want to remind people what biblical teachings, what God's original design really was, and we wanted to do it. And some of these things have to happen privately. It's what has happened is society has gradually degraded the faith of many people. Now they're confused, and pretty soon they'll become bewildered. They're disillusioned, and what we're trying to do is try to snap them back to reality, a little knot on the noggin. And our theme with that name, God's Original Design Ministry, we can approach many topics.
Mm-hmm.
Our first mission is marriage.
Mm-hmm. Identity.
That would be exactly, Mac. That's right.
Yep. Which is all about.
Yeah, we'll live. This ministry could live on forever and ever with that name, and that was kind of a divine intervention, actually.
You know, it could be, from my standpoint, it could be people in recovery.
Exactly.
Because God does not design us to abuse alcohol, drugs, anger, hate, fear, anything.
Exactly.
I said before we went to break, what can you do for them? Well, you can go to their website, gods-design.org. There probably is an opportunity for people to offer you funds to support you.
Yes.
But the 4-letter word is just pray. And you know, somebody said something to me a few years ago, and it didn't hit me until, probably a couple years ago. You know, so many people say, well, I guess all there's left to do is pray. I guess that's all I can do now is just pray. When we all know that should have been the first thing,
right,
and probably the only thing that they needed to do. pray for God's will, and that you'll be on the right end of it. And you guys obviously have come out at the right end of this, because you're going to take that message, kind of like you said, Frank. Is that message going to die? Is it going away? Is nobody ever going to hear it again? No, you've got two people here who are swearing that until the day they take their last breath, and hopefully long beyond, that message of God's design, God's original design, is going to be out there for generations hopefully to come.
That's right.
And not only on billboards, we do want to go out wherever we're called to tell our story, because it is a compelling story. When you can put a face on it and say, this actually happened to us. It's not an imagination or something that could happen in Iowa. This actually happened, and so we will be open to go speak anywhere.
Yeah.
What would you and Betty both say to your fellow Christian brothers and sisters who challenge you on this, that you should just live and let live, and let people be married and have just as much opportunity to be miserable as anybody else? You know, there's that joke, about men and women getting married. Well, they got just as much right to be miserable as anybody else. What would you say to your fellow Christian, supposed Christian brothers and sisters, who's probably going to be your biggest foes?
That's right. Yes, and already
it's
have
not
been.
only Christian brothers and sisters, it's Christian children.
Oh my!
We've suffered a financial loss, but that's pale in comparison to what's gone on in our family.
Yeah.
In your own family?
In our own family, yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
Share me that.
No.
Well, we have children that disagree with our position, and it's hard for them, and it's hard for us.
It's always the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Has that split up relationships?
Of course, it affects relationships, Frank. Absolutely. We still talk. I mean, it's but it's always the elephant in the room. We love them to death. We're parents.
And they
it's
love
unconditional
us,
love.
But it's something we have to decide to disagree on and not talk about.
Yeah. And we aren't. Good Lord, we're sinners. We aren't judging anybody as far as whose sin is worse than anybody else's. We just. But celebrating that sin with the sacrament of marriage is absolute mockery.
But I think to
Lord
answer
Jesus,
your
it's
question,
just absolute mockery.
Go ahead.
I think that you just have to know the scriptures, and it will only be taught from showing the scriptures.
Well, I want to give you guys some consolation here, because Matthew 10 talks about that Christ said, "Think not that I came to send peace. I came to send a sword, to cut apart, to separate, to put at variance, mother against daughter, father against son, father-in-law against son-in-law." What he's wanting to do is get somebody to stand up for him and his word, and he doesn't care the cost, the relationship that it cost you. He just wants somebody to stand for him. So if you got family members, and we all got those, that are separating themselves from us because of our convictions, stand fast to your convictions.
But you also have to come at it with extreme love. Show more love than you ever have before. There cannot be one word that might be taken wrongly. If you're going to approach people, you've got to really search your words, as I'm trying to find my right words now. You've got to find the right words and not let one slip, because they will take that the wrong way.
And I'm sure I need some practice at that.
Let's take a vote. All those in favor that Frank does, aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
She's not voting.
Pretty much unanimous.
You're on the he needs restrain. Yeah, okay. All right. We're going to take our last break.
No split decision here.
No split decision here. You weren't surprised, though, were you?
At what?
Very disappointed.
At Supreme Court?
Oh, no.
I'm very disappointed.
Yeah.
I was hoping for hope, because it would buy us some time. As Senator Cruz told us last Saturday, it certainly would buy us some time. But the day is here, and you move forward.
Yeah. All right, Dick and Betty Odgaard are our guests today. They are the owners, proud owners, for 13 years of the Gertz House in Grimes. And by the way, they'll be open till the 30th of July. So you still have time to go by and see the artwork. Have a wonderful, I love your seafood wrap. Oh, man, it's that good. And enjoy some time with Betty and Dick as they'll be there. We'll come back, be with you live here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids? Yeah!
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 10 minutes for the top Salem Radio Network news at 3 o'clock, and then at 3:03, the Steve Deace. Now, I will tell you as a talk show host, it is almost impossible to separate your personal feelings from your show. If you have had a tragedy in an area, let's say that you lost someone you love very much of cancer, then you're going to be passionate when it comes to talking about cancer. Let's say that you have been ripped off by some type of scam, and that scam appears to be affecting some other people. You're going to be passionate about that. Steve Deace is absolutely passionate that the LGBT ? Community has begun to, through the eyes of civil rights and what's right and what's wrong, they now have a long sought after Supreme Court decision that gay marriage is legal across the land. And there are very few days that I think I would miss listening to Steve Deace, and today would be one of them. I'm not promoting his show. I know more than I usually do. I'm not trying to sizzle it. I'm just telling you that this man, this is a topic he is passionate about, and you better believe he's prepared for quite a oratribe. Is that the right word?
Diatribe.
Diatribe today on his show.
Well, Mac, you probably ought to watch MSNBC more often because they're experts on separating their emotional feelings from their journalistic stories and their journalistic integrity.
No, they're not. They're terrible over there. So next is a ministry called godsdesign.org, and it's gods-design.org, in which you're going to be traveling the country, sending the message that God's original design was one man and one woman, and we'll see him on billboards around here. You can go to the website at gods-design.org And
another way to get there, an easier way, is to go to Gert's House Gallery website.
Okay.
Gert'sHouseGallery.com, and it's on our front page now.
Yeah. What else would you put there? Yeah. And you're going to be open for 30 more days. And do you think you'll be busier?
We have been the last couple days.
Okay.
Yes. One woman said, we wanted to come in here and support you so that maybe so many people will come, you'll decide to stay open.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen.
It can't happen, no.
Yeah. The decision has been made. I've been able to walk alongside Dick and Betty for a couple of years now, and wow. I mean, just walking alongside you hurt. You know, I hurt so much, Betty, when you hurt, because, you know, it just ripped you, as it would have been me if it was you.
And it is now. This is
hard.
It's coming at us again, yes.
Yeah.
To close our door it's our passion for over 13 years.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a different life after this.
What are you going to do? You're going to do this. We're
going to be very busy.
Yeah. The Gert's House, which was a Lutheran church for many years, it will return to be a church. We don't know who. We don't know when. But I just can't help but feel that God will bless that building for all that it's been through and the souls that have had in it, including the two of you, with the gospel being preached inside that building until its final day.
I think God put us in that building for this case to develop and mature, and as an example of what is happening in society. I really do think that God set us up, and we're blessed for that.
Good. So kind of like the folks in Charleston that lost mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and sons and daughters, and the family came out and said, we forgive you.
Yeah.
And they have found now some light to stand around, which is God's light. You kind of have too.
You have to forgive. It'll eat you up if you don't.
Yeah.
God's on our team.
Yeah, that's right. God is on our team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's times like this that we just have to remember the promise that all works for the good of those who love and serve the Lord. So you have to just put your faith in that promise and move on.
That's always been one of my favorite verses.
Which one's that?
Romans 8:28.
Oh. And what is it?
All things work for the good of those who love and serve the Lord.
Yeah, he just makes sure that everything turns out good for us. And even if it's not on this earth, now, it will be in the new earth. It will be, here, let me give you a vision on the new earth. Your church is glowing.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know where the light's coming from.
Yeah.
We can't seem to find the source other than it's just glowing. And
that's a beautiful picture, man.
Yeah, and we finally know that God rests there.
Yeah.
And forevermore in the New Jerusalem, your home, your church, will be a place where God took a stand through Dick and Betty, and even through government suppression, that his word stood.
Right.
His life stood, no matter what. And I can just see coming down 141 out of Des Moines, and there's Grimes, Iowa, and there's this glow. And everybody say, now what's that? Oh, that's the Gert's house. That's where Dick and Betty were. They took a stand in a time that it was so unacceptable to take this stand. And people of all generations for 1,000 years, moms and daughters will walk by that building hand in hand going, there it is, honey. That's the Gert's house. Kind of like when you walk by Elvis's mansion, you kind of feel that way.
Yes.
This will be a little bit more spiritual than Elvis's mansion, although I know his mansion's important to you, Frank.
Yeah.
But just remember that. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
People long after we're all dead are going to tell their children about what happened there. And nobody lost their lives. There wasn't any murdering. There wasn't any racism. It was just two people, Dick and Betty, whose ministry now employs thousands of people across the world, one of the beacons of God's Word, and they'll say that's where it all started. Kind of like walking by Billy Graham's birthplace.
That's a wonderful prophecy.
Well, I want you to think about that. I don't think that's... Why wouldn't God reward that building and your legacy with that type of shield and that type of glow? Make sense?
Makes sense to us.
All right. Thank you both for being here today. Such a solemn day.
Thank you.
Such a solemn day. I know I'm not on secular radio, so I don't have anybody out there that I need to congratulate on a victory, a hard-fought worldwide victory. But I also know the accuser's listening right now. And I want to let you know, accuser, that you're not going to get us. You know, you can dampen us. You can hurt our fleshy, because that's all you got, cowboy, is flesh. You got no soul. You got no spirit. You're a fallen angel, and you know what you've lost. You've lost a relationship with your Creator forever and ever. And yes, you may try to cause havoc among our flesh, but we know how it ends, dude. We know how it ends. And you just keep doing what you're doing. You keep doing it, because we're not giving in. And just as always, we end this program with saying, if there's somebody out there you need to forgive, please forgive them tonight. Because it's as you forgive, you will be forgiven. I'll see you in church.